It happened without warning. One moment the border was alive with the usual rhythm of daily life. Families reuniting, workers commuting, and trucks hauling goods between nations. The next, everything changed. On a sweltering Texas morning, the El Paso border crossing fell silent. The familiar sounds of engines idling and voices calling out were replaced by an eerie stillness, as if the world itself was holding its breath. Steel gates slammed shut, cutting off the steady stream of cars and pedestrians. The metallic clang echoed across the empty lanes, a sound that signaled not just a pause, but a sudden and total stop. U.S. Customs and Border Protection officers formed a human wall, turning away everyone: trucks, families, commuters. Their faces were set, their instructions clear: no one would be allowed through, no exceptions. The order was absolute, leaving thousands stranded and a nation asking, why? Travelers clutched their documents, searching for answers that wouldn't come. Some had appointments, others were simply returning home, but all were left in limbo. Helicopters circled overhead, armored vehicles rolled in, and official information was scarce. The sudden show of force only fueled rumors and speculation, as people wondered if something far more serious was unfolding. This wasn't a typical shutdown. It felt permanent, decisive, and deeply unsettling. The border, usually a place of movement and exchange, had become a fortified barrier overnight. Confusion turned to fear. Maria Rodriguez, a nurse from Juarez, was told simply, "Turn back," no explanation. She had crossed this border every day for years, but now, her routine was shattered, her future uncertain. Families were separated, businesses cut off, and a binational community was severed in an instant. Children cried as parents were stranded on opposite sides. Storefronts that depended on cross-border customers closed their doors, unsure if they would ever reopen. The economic and human arteries connecting these cities were clamped shut, trade halted, workers were left jobless, and the lifeblood of the region was suddenly frozen. Reports confirmed similar shutdowns at key crossings along the Texas-Mexico border. The closures weren't isolated, they were coordinated, swift, and total. From Laredo to Brownsville, the message was the same: access denied. Communities that once thrived on cross-border ties now faced an uncertain future, cut off from friends, family, and opportunity. The federal government had sealed a significant portion of the southern border. The scale and speed of the operation left even seasoned officials stunned. Such a drastic measure had never been taken before in peacetime. The border, a symbol of both division and connection, now stood as a stark reminder of how quickly the world can change. It signaled a crisis of national significance. Behind closed doors, officials scrambled to respond, but the public was left in the dark, desperate for answers. The world watched, waited, and wondered, what could be so terrifying to warrant this? News outlets from around the globe broadcast images of the empty crossings, speculating about the cause and the consequences. The silence from federal authorities only deepened the dread. With no official explanation, fear and uncertainty spread faster than any rumor, leaving millions on both sides of the border to imagine the worst. The reason for the lockdown lay hidden beneath the Chihuahuan Desert. Authorities unearthed a vast subterranean complex, far more than a tunnel. It was a network of reinforced chambers with ventilation, electricity, and living quarters. The structure stretched for miles, a hidden city just below the surface. The main access point, disguised as an abandoned well, branched under the Rio Grande into Mexico. Inside, stockpiles of weapons, communication gear, and evidence of long-term habitation. The purpose was unclear, but every possibility was terrifying. The ground beneath Texas was no longer solid, it was hollowed out by a dangerous secret. The discovery was the result of subtle clues and advanced technology. Seismic sensors picked up deep earth tremors, and satellite imagery showed odd heat signatures. Analysts noticed unusual power draws from a remote ranch. The anomalies converged, prompting a secret investigation. A pre-dawn raid found nothing on the surface, but ground-penetrating radar revealed a void beneath an old well. Tactical teams descended, mapping a sprawling underground network. The scale was staggering, far beyond a local law enforcement matter. Every new chamber deepened the alarm. The discovery was escalated to the highest levels of government. The border shutdown was triggered within hours. The rabbit hole had been found, and it was deeper than anyone imagined. The border closure unleashed a wave of frustration. At the Bridge of the Americas, vehicles stretched for miles into Juarez. Families sat in hot cars, plans ruined with no answers, billions in trade ground to a halt, truck drivers faced spoiled goods and lost income. Local communities reliant on cross-border life felt cut in half. Store owners saw their businesses empty overnight. Humanitarian groups distributed water, but information was scarce. Rumors spread, cartel violence, disease, or worse. The truth was more complex and unsettling than any rumor. The lockdown was the only tool authorities had to contain a threat they barely understood. Tension and resignation settled over the border. The region waited, desperate for answers. In Washington, the Secretary of Homeland Security addressed the nation in a rare, urgent press conference, her voice steady but grave, as she spoke to millions watching across the country. Acting on credible intelligence, we secured key border points in Texas, she announced, referencing a coordinated effort that had unfolded in the early hours of the morning, involving dozens of agencies and hundreds of personnel. This is temporary but necessary, she continued, emphasizing that the measures were not taken lightly, but were essential to protect the nation from an unprecedented threat. Border officials echoed the message in simultaneous briefings across the region. We ask for patience as we address a national security situation of the highest priority. Our teams are working around the clock to ensure everyone's safety. Local leaders, while supportive of the federal action, voiced deep concern for their communities, worried about the impact on families, businesses, and daily life along the border. We are facing a threat of a new and dangerous magnitude, the Texas governor stated, his tone somber as he called for unity and vigilance from all Texans. Behind the scenes, officials admitted, "We've never seen anything like this. The intelligence we're receiving is unlike anything in recent memory, and the stakes are incredibly high." "The sophistication is off the charts," one senior official remarked, pointing to blueprints and technical documents that revealed a sprawling, meticulously engineered network beneath the border. "This isn't just a tunnel, it's a subterranean highway system," he explained, describing wide, reinforced passages capable of moving large numbers of people or materials undetected. Closing the border, they said, buys time to assess the threat, allowing experts to analyze the network and prevent any potential breach before it's too late. As news spread, the public's anxiety grew. Families gathered around televisions, social media buzzed with speculation, and a sense of unease settled over communities nationwide. But the message from officials was clear: security must come first. All available resources were mobilized, from National Guard units to local law enforcement, each playing a critical role in the unfolding response. The gravity of the situation united federal, state, and local leaders as never before, forging a rare front of cooperation and determination to protect the nation. The border was closed to stop whatever was intended to move through the network, with checkpoints fortified and every entry point under watchful eyes. The nation braced for what might come next, holding its breath as leaders worked tirelessly to confront a threat that had, until now, only existed in the realm of possibility. Security experts called the discovery unprecedented, a word rarely used in a field accustomed to surprises. The sheer scale and sophistication of what was uncovered left even the most seasoned analysts momentarily speechless as they tried to process the implications. Dr. Evelyn Reed, a former intelligence analyst, said, "This is a paradigm shift, strategic infrastructure, not just smuggling." She emphasized that this was not a simple criminal operation, but something that hinted at a new level of organization and intent, far beyond what authorities had previously encountered. Dr. Marcus Thorne, MIT engineer, explained, "Building a reinforced, ventilated complex miles long requires military-grade expertise and a massive secret labor force." He pointed out that the engineering challenges alone would have required months, if not years, of careful planning, specialized equipment, and a level of secrecy that was almost unfathomable. The intelligence failure was glaring. Agencies tasked with monitoring threats had missed not just a detail, but an entire operation unfolding right beneath their feet. Years of construction had gone undetected, hidden in plain sight. The audacity of the builders was matched only by the blind spots in surveillance, raising uncomfortable questions about what else might be happening out of view. "This is a humbling moment for U.S. intelligence," a retired CIA chief admitted. He acknowledged that the agencies would need to reevaluate their methods and assumptions, as the old playbook had clearly failed. The border shutdown, though drastic, was the only logical step. Authorities had to act swiftly to prevent any further exploitation of the newly discovered tunnel network, even if it meant disrupting thousands of lives and commerce overnight. When you find something like this, you have to assume the worst, Dr. Reed concluded. She warned that the true purpose of the tunnel might not yet be known, and that complacency could be catastrophic. The immediate priority: contain the threat. Law enforcement and military units mobilized rapidly, sealing off access points and searching for any signs of ongoing activity. The next challenge: uncover who built it, why, and what they planned. Investigators began the painstaking process of collecting evidence, mapping the tunnel's full extent, and tracing its origins. Experts agreed. The U.S. had to rethink its entire approach to border security. The old strategies were no longer enough. New technologies, new partnerships, and new mindsets would be required to address threats of this magnitude. The discovery exposed a vulnerability no one had imagined. It was a wake-up call, not just for border officials, but for the entire nation, revealing how easily the ground beneath their feet could be undermined. The nation was forced to confront the limits of its surveillance and intelligence. For all the billions spent on technology and manpower, a determined adversary had found a way through. The story was no longer about a border, it was about a hidden war beneath the surface. The battle lines had shifted underground, and the rules of engagement were being rewritten in real time. The emergency brake had been pulled, but the real work was just beginning. Every agency, from local police to federal intelligence, now faced the daunting task of preventing the next breach. The world watched as the investigation unfolded, with allies and adversaries alike taking note. The events at the border had become a global story, a stark reminder that in an interconnected world, no nation's security could be taken for granted. Investigators debated the purpose of the underground complex. Was it for smuggling on an industrial scale? The profits would be enormous. Or was it a hidden pipeline for human trafficking, or even a way to move operatives for foreign powers? The most chilling theory: a staging ground for a direct attack on U.S. soil. The complex could serve multiple purposes, or its use could have evolved over time. Untangling who built it and why became the intelligence community's top mission. The discovery shocked the U.S. national security apparatus. Border security had focused on the surface. Now, the threat was underground. Every federal agency began re-examining data for similar vulnerabilities. The Canadian border came under new scrutiny. Internationally, the fine-strained U.S.-Mexico relations demanding cooperation and accountability. The military began planning for new types of subterranean threats. The line between law enforcement and national defense blurred. New technologies and tactics for underground detection became urgent priorities. The ground beneath America was now a potential battleground. As teams clear and map the underground complex, the border remains closed. The discovery has permanently changed the border security conversation. The debate now includes ground-penetrating radar and subterranean intelligence. Heightened security and new protocols are here to stay. Trust between border communities has been shattered. For the public, it's a sobering wake-up call. Threats can come from anywhere. The Texas border shutdown will be studied for decades, a case study in both failure and decisive response. The next chapter in America's security will be defined by how it answers threats from above and below.